Errol Spence finally speaks out and reveals that he had an injury coming into the Terence Crawford fight. We're going to talk about that in this video. Make sure that you hit my like button, subscribe to the channel, and let's cook on it. We finally got some action and some big news on the fight that took place at the end of July that the whole boxing world was begging to see for years and years. Now, like myself, most people thought it was going to be a dogfight. Most people thought it was going to be back and forth, and a lot of people couldn't pick a winner. You had fans that was going with they guy, Errol Spence. You had other fans that was going with they guy, Terence Crawford. But all in all, everybody thought it was going to be a very competitive fight. But it wasn't. It was a one-sided beatdown, and Errol Spence was on the wrong side of that one-sided beatdown. Now, in that fight, a lot of boxing fans like myself said Errol Spence did not look like himself. He looked like a completely different fighter. He was slower than he usually is. He was getting hit with way more punches than he usually does. His defense was non-existent. And I said, something had to be wrong with him, right? I mean, that was nowhere near the best version of Errol Spence we had ever seen. And if you want to keep it a buck, it was the worst version of Errol Spence that we've ever seen in a professional fight. Now, of course, you got Terence Crawford fans. They gonna say that all the Errol Spence fans is making excuses. But I did give Bud Crawford 1,000% credit. It's just common sense. If you look at that fight, that wasn't the best version of Errol Spence. And it wasn't taking nothing away from Terence Crawford because he put on a tremendous performance. Now, you did have other fans come out and say dumb shit like Bud is on PEDs, he's using illegal drugs through the snack program and all of that. But, that comes with the territory. Now, after the fight, when Errol Spence was asked, was anything wrong with him? Did he have any injuries? Did he have any injuries that he sustained in training camp? He refused to answer. He just gave Bud Crawford his full respect and said he was going to come and get his get back. Now, we know months ago, Errol Spence put in for his rematch. And they had a little discrepancy. They never could agree on the weight. Now, I don't know what's going on now. But I told y'all before, I talked to somebody behind the scenes that's in Terence Crawford's camp. And they told me that it didn't really seem like to them that Errol Spence wanted that rematch. But all we knew is that Errol Spence put in for his rematch. Now, I continue to tell people, man, if EJ had an injury, if he had something going on with him, he has to eventually come out and say that. Because if he wants a rematch, in order for them to even start building this fight again, somebody going to need to know if anything was wrong with him, right? Because that's not only something that we do need to know, it's a storyline to build off of to make fans want to buy the rematch, right? Well, today, Errol Spence finally revealed, and he didn't only reveal, he showed proof. He's in a hospital chair, going in surgery with a big patch over his eye. How much more proof do y'all need? Now, we know, leading up to the Manny Pacquiao fight, EJ suffered a torn retina in training camp. And he was out for over a year. He came back, he fought Ugas, and he looked good in the Ugas fight. But one thing I did also see in the Ugas fight is EJ was getting hit with shots that he usually doesn't get hit with. And I told people on the live stream that I did, I said, yeah, he did beat Ugas, but he got hit with some shots that he usually don't get hit with. And if he goes in the ring against Terence Crawford, he can't get hit with those same shots. He's going to have to fix that against Terence Crawford. And of course, in the Terence Crawford fight, he got hit with those same shots and a whole lot more. And he went on to get dominated in that fight and stopped in the 9th round. Now, this is what Errol Spence came out with today. The injury that he suffered, he says that he's been having these problems for a long time, but he's been pushing off the surgery. And this is what he had to say. He says, had to get cataract surgery. It's been past due. Shit was covering my eye. Why you think I got hit with so many jabs and hooks? Still a great performance by bro. Now, he's telling you that he had basically probably like a black cloud or some type of cloud covering his eye. And we know that that was due to the torn retina that he had. And so now he needs cataract surgery. And he telling you like, hey, it still was a great performance by Terence Crawford. But hey, y'all, I'm just not gonna get hit with all of them jabs and hooks for no reason like that. Like, y'all gotta give me some credit for my defense. And leading up to the Terence Crawford fight, Errol Spence, he was talking about money this and money that. And the closer the fight got to fight night, to me, his confidence was more focused on money, and he wasn't really talking about that he was going to win the fight. He even answered questions like, yeah, I'm not the same fighter and things like that. So, man, I just didn't see the same confident Errol Spence that I was used to seeing. And I felt like, man, did he even think he was going to win that fight? Was something wrong with him going into the fight? And he just didn't want to say it because he didn't want to pull out because he wanted this big payday. And they had been basically prolonging the fight between him and Terence Crawford for so long, and fans would start to fall out of interest in the fight. If he had pulled out, it probably wouldn't have been no fight. And I think that's what it was, man. And like I said, this ain't to take nothing away from Terence Crawford. But we know that wasn't the best version of Errol Spence. Now, the question that we have now is how this surgery is going to affect Errol Spence. Is he going to be back to 100%? I don't know too much about cataract surgery. I don't know the healing time. I'll have to research all of that. It's going to be another concern for fans. How long is he going to be out? When is the rematch going to take place, if it does take place? A lot of people are going to write Errol Spence off and say that he needs to retire. He suffered too many injuries and he ain't the same fighter. He ain't never going to be the same fighter. Now, I'm not going to be doing all of that, right? But I do know that once he go in there and get his get back, it's up for him to prove that the way that he looked in the ring the first fight is because he did have an injury. And the only way to shut people up and to prove that is to go in there and look like a completely different fighter than he did the first fight. Now, yeah, you got to be blind to see that he don't have an injury. I mean, the man ain't going to stage going into surgery and all of that. But you know how the boxing world is. You know how these fans are. If he don't go out there and win, he gonna get all the criticism in the world still. They gonna say that he made all the excuses in the world up, that he didn't have an eye injury. It was just another excuse, and we know what's gonna happen. So he gotta go out there, and to be honest, he gotta get the W. Everybody that Bud has stepped in the ring with before, none of those fighters was on Errol Spence's level. None of them were. But they all performed a lot better than Errol Spence performed. Even the guys like Amir Khan and Green Machine and David I've Been Sneezing and all them dudes, they performed better than Errol Spence did on fight night. And that was one of the main key reasons that led me to believe something ain't right with him. He's not the same fighter on this night. He don't look the same. And so, man, I want Errol Spence to get back to 1,000%, right? I want him to go in there and get his rematch and may the best man win. You know, Terence Crawford is a great fighter. Maybe Errol Spence can be back to his best and he still can't beat Bud. We don't know. But Errol Spence finally coming out and revealing that, yeah, he definitely wasn't at his best. Yeah, he definitely had an injury going into that fight. It makes me want to see the fight more. Because I ain't gonna lie to y'all, like with the rematch and all of that, man, I was like, it's whatever. You know, if he's not willing to come out and say anything was wrong with him, well, you know, hey, I'm not too big on the rematch. But, you know, I still will support him and I'm still going to watch it if they fight again. But now that I know that he had an injury and there was other things and other rumors going around, you know, people said that he had a rib injury going into the fight, that he had suffered weeks and weeks before the fight and he couldn't even train properly and spar for 6 weeks leading up to the fight. So, man, it was a lot of things, but this is one thing that we do know now, that he had a problem with his eye, the same eye that he had previous surgery on from a torn retina. Now, like I said, I know it's going to be a whole bunch of, oh, he making excuses. all in the chat with this story, with whoever else dropped the story. Everybody gonna be saying he making excuses, but like I said, man, it come with the territory. Let me know how y'all feel about this. Drop a comment in the comment section. Make sure that you hit my like button, subscribe to the channel, and y'all already know how I do. There you go, talking that boxing again, and I'm gone.
With talk, hey, clear the way, clear the lane. I'm top lit, different from them laws.